your Instagram DMs or?
I've received them Instagram, or like started talking to somebody and they just provide them immediately.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to receiving dick pics. I would like to see the dick before.
Right.
Like that's a part of my decision making.
Of course, yeah. It's like online shopping.
Yeah. So, but I do get annoyed at how
online
it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be fully erect. When
of course. Why would you show me?
And some people are growers and not showers, so like you doing your own self a disservice.
Shout out to them.
X.
What do you keep? You got a folder?
No, I do not have a folder. I'm not keeping them like that. They're not trophies. No,
I know.
But I'm a part.
So if you see it before y'all do y'all thing, or you don't, do you not do the thing if you see it and you don't like it?
Yeah, no. Why would I waste my time?
What about the motion in the ocean?
No.
No. It ain't, and that don't matter.
No, it
so
does
size
not.
is a thing for you.
Size is very much a thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you think everybody? I guess this question's for everybody. Do you compare all your sexual experience to your first sexual partner?
No.
No.
I don't even barely remember that shit.
Yeah. No.
No, I remember.
No.
I don't know how you forget.
Maybe I don't compare them to my first. I probably compare them to my last sexual partner and my best sexual partner.
Exactly.
What is the best for a woman?
Everyone I can only back.
You see, I can only. I mean, I'm going back from 2 days ago.
So not 2 days ago.
I'm currently with my best sexual partner.
Does he know?
Does he know? Yeah, I think.
Do you not want? I say you might not want to tell him.
He'll know
I don't have like it's like he's in a league of his own. I don't even really have a choice in not telling him. That's it's I've.
Is that enough to sustain a relationship?
It's we're ethically non-monogamous, so. I mean, I can be with other people, but it makes
break that shit down.
Huh?
Ethically,
I
never heard that.
I said that on our last episode.
Somebody just said that. It sounds so familiar.
We talked about it before, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I remember the ethical part being in front.
It means that we know that we fuck other people.
Oh.
Okay.
What made you give up?
In layman's terms.
What made you give up on monogamy, though?
Huh?
What made you give up on monogamy?
I have not given up on monogamy. Well, have I wholesale given up on monogamy?
I think it sounds like you have.
Sounds like it.
No. I mean, it's just a particular relationship that I'm in currently.
That works for her.
It's working for the moment, and it's not even completely working. I'll be, transparent about that, but it's fine. So it's not about the how we have our relationship structure. It really is the person. So I like the person. So, but in general, would I be comfortable with an ethical non-monogamous situation in general, like throughout my lifetime? Yeah, I'd be completely fine with it.
Interesting.
Could you get married and still be ethically non-monogamous?
Yes. Yeah. You're asking me personally.
What's the point of getting married?
Yeah, what's the point?
Why do everybody ask
what is the point?
What's the point?
Stay non-monogamous. Marriage is the opposite.
That's the only reason why y'all got
but marriage is more than sex, though.
Right.
It's the love.
Monogamy's in it.
Monogamy is part of it, guys.
I disagree.
Really?
That's a big
part. Because
really?
we're just talking about sex, and we're not even talking about polyamory, which is a whole nother conversation. But we're just talking about sex, so and marriage is way more than sex.
Yeah. So to me, marriage is about companionship too. Companionship with one person.
Right. So you still have that companionship.
Yes.
You can still have all of those things and still have sex with other people. There are plenty of swingers.
I'm be honest. I want that person to be my person though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's a selfish person.
But that doesn't mean you're not. That doesn't mean you're never going to be sexually compatible with anyone else.
That's fine, but I'm not going to never know.
So our definitions of marriage is obviously different.
Because to me I don't need to go. Just sex ain't it all. Right. It's not the whole relationship.
I'm not.
Because sex wanes too as you get older.
I certainly hope not.
Well, it does.
I keep on hearing this, but I hope that is an absolute lie.
Kendra, sex wanes.
I'm not rolling with this.
I work with older adults.
I think there are ebbs and flows, especially like through pregnancy and kids and all that.
They're trying to walk down the hall. What the fuck?
They probably just
energy
come
it takes
quick.
to fuck.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't got it. I'm taking 20 pills today.
You think you're gonna always have it?
Oh, you ain't.
I certainly.
Hey, she drinks.
Yeah.
She keeps.
Well, okay.
You know, sex lasts for us longer than it lasts for you, men.
Huh? Wait a minute. Say this again. It lasts longer for y'all than it does for me.
Yes,
No, that's
I'm
not
really
true.
trying to understand.
So it becomes a little harder
for y'all to get hard.
No, it's easier for us to. We can have kids well into our 80s.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's easy for y'all to get and stay hard.
But like overall, women typically as they age, their vaginas prolapse.
Okay.
A lot of different shit, hemorrhoids.
All right, I mean that
shit drop.
You can have hemorrhoids in childbirth, and you can.
But I'm just saying, progressively, women's body, especially women that bear children, as they age, it's harder on their body.
I think it's the same for y'all, but y'all got Viagra, so y'all don't realize.
It's a lot more things because we have external parts are easier to fix.
But that doesn't mean that your body isn't changing. It just means that y'all found.
I don't think people at 75 you gonna still want to get.
Well, so that's my point. What I'm saying for me is that I would mourn the day that my desire to have sex is no longer there.
You should mourn than that. It's gonna come.
No.
She's like,
no.
You know why? Because you're hitting your sexual peak. That's why.
I'm definitely my sexual peak right now.
Women in their 30s and 40s.
Sure.
That's their
but I also, I think that my parents are still having sex.
How often?
I don't ask them
but realistically, though. How old is your parents? 70s? 60s?
My father's 72. My mom will be 65 next week.
I'm giving them once every 2 weeks, like a paycheck.
That's what people our age that are married with kids. Right. They do once every 2 weeks.
That's not having sex, though. That's not having a desire. I think if you having sex every 2 weeks, the frequency goes down.
So your sex drive has always been high?
Yes, my sex drive was high.
I think that's really what you should say.
Before I had sex.
Okay.
Yeah.
John's face.
I got journal upon journal talking about how much I wish.
Oh, you used to read the novels at the dollar
Coldest
store?
winter ever.
Huh?
Those are nasty novels at the dollar store?
I mean, no, the Zane novels. Yeah, I used to read. I've read those. The Omar Tyree books. I did all of that.
So whoever deals with you has a high bar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to think that you would never get tired of sex.
Yeah, you don't get tired.
But I mean, do you get tired of eating?
Yeah.
Yes, actually.
It's a chore.
Only when you're full.
Because you get full.
I need to survive, though. I don't need sex to survive.
I mean, there are people out there like you who and I think y'all found each other.
You think this has something to do with specifically? Well, women control sex.
They do.
And I think that's why I think that's a part of why you feel the way you do. Women control sex. Men know sex is not our choice.
Right. And even in my old age, when I'm no longer, I guess, aesthetically desirable as I am currently, I plan on paying for sex if I have to. I'm still fucking. That's all you need to take from this.
That's the title of this episode.
I'm still
fucking.
Hey, I got the dollars. You bring the dick.
I got it. I'm gonna be an 80-year-old woman with money. Like, this is not gonna be a problem. I'm gonna.
You don't need much to get a dick.
Huh?
You don't need much to get a dick.
Yeah,
I'm saying maybe at 80 it might take a little more work. So I will kindly pay a 60-year-old man.
Oh, you want a 60? You want a 60 or 80?
I think that's about a fair.
Yeah, you don't want a 20-year-old. He'll kill your ass. Have a heart attack.
That's a good way to go.
Slow down, young man.
that's a good way to go.
Sex won't send you to the ER. It's gonna send you to the grave.
I say only need cold punching, man. Chill out.
That's a good way to go. I plan on being a healthy, older woman.
Everybody plans.
I mean, I'm living my life in a way that suggests that I'll continue on that trajectory.
That's what's up.
Yeah. But
hey, I think the bitch was silent.
It was. So let's get this episode started. Anything else y'all want to get out your chest before we get into the meat of the episode?
I see what you did.
I didn't do it on purpose. You know I'm not that good. That's something Maul would do, but I'm not that good.
Wait a minute.
Not the meat, but I'm just saying. Oh God, yeah. You know what Maul would do to me? Yeah, all right. I did want to say I actually added somebody to my cougar list. No, I think that's noteworthy.
Who is it?
Janet.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how I left Janet Jackson off my cougar list, yo. I watched the documentary.
You might have just forgot she was on your list.
I didn't know. I
forgot
Janet was. I forgot who she was. I was like, oh, that's
you watched the doc.
She's 60,
yeah, right? 55, 50 something like that.
She gotta be older.
She's close to our parents' age.
Let's see.
My parents' age. I don't know what your parents' age.
Yeah.
Because she just had a baby at 50, and that was in 2017.
She did, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So she's like 50 something.
50 something.
Right.
Yeah. Janet's still bad. So she on my list though. I forgot about her.
She's 55.
Is LaToya Luckett noteworthy?
Yeah.
Okay, I had to add her too. I saw her. So
LaToya Luckett is not old.
For me.
Because when we define cougar, it was 10 years older.
I'm about to say he's that much younger than
How old is Latoya Luckett?
I'm looking it up now.
Probably like 39 at best.
That's 10 years older than me.
That's 10.
She's 40, so exactly 10 years
10
older.
years is a cougar for you.
Got it.
I feel like that's my age.
I'm about to say that's in my age range.
So if I see Latoya, hey, what's up?
you an arms breed.
Yeah.
They should. I think they should have kept her instead on the show.
I was sleeping with somebody who was 11 years younger than me.
Younger?
Okay. How was that?
How old were you?
Last year.
Oh, okay.
I was 36. He was 24.
How'd that go?
It went well for we were.
How'd you do with his maturity?
He was immature.
Men are always young men.
He was immature.
I think I just started maturing.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Last week.
he was. I mean, it was only for sex, so it was. Yeah. It was very. He was a useful dick.
He was a useful dick. That's a good topic.
Real transactional.
Oh, yeah.
Very.
You don't want to put your
Yeah, I forgot it was in the shot,
Hey,
yo.
not him putting in the camera intentionally.
It's messing up my swag, yo.
injuries do mess up your swag.
Told you get the camera, yo.
Injuries must be swag. So what's good? We back another episode of Unsolicited Views. It's John. It's Mel. It's Maul. It's Sid. We all here on a Sunday again. Sorry we left y'all without a dope beat to step to. I tried to get that. You get that. No? Okay,
Nah,
trash.
that was
Right. Yeah, last week we couldn't record because we just couldn't record. We had a lot going on. So we tried not to give y'all
really because of you.
What would I do?
Huh?
You was at brunch.
Oh, yeah.
At brunch.
What I do?
I was at brunch.
Bad bitch Jones at brunch, yo.
So it was definitely on the schedule, just without me.
It's different only because I don't spend much time. I got to make sure I spend time with my wife.
Of course.
So that brunch, a date or a brunch, somebody to watch the kid, I have to.
Yeah, we're not saying nothing's wrong.
I'm trying to say.
But you talking about you don't remember what
I didn't. You had to remind me.
Yeah.
I got selective amnesia.
Yeah.
We know.
So no, it was
That's
fun.
all men.
No, wait.
Wait a minute.
Hold that. That's bullshit. But it was one of the worst brunches I've ever been to.
Damn.
And it was in DC.
So what was bad about it?
Guessing the food.
So it wasn't a brunch at a restaurant. It was an event. So this company threw a brunch, but they threw it inside of. It was like a co-working space on the park. Like you know how like the co-working spaces, and you can rent rooms. It was one of those.
Wait, it was just in
a
your
conference
room?
room?
It was like it was just like their. You know how you in the luxury apartments they got like a bar, like you can rent out the room.
Oh, okay.
So it was like that. So it was a bar in there, but it was just like we were sitting at 10 people round tables. It was tight as shit. We couldn't get up and dance. It was a good DJ there. DJ Cloudy was there, he's dope.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, so they got something right. So you couldn't move. It was supposed to be bottomless mimosas, but they wasn't so bottomless because they wasn't moving fast enough.
That's
And it was only like 2 servers to serve like it was like 60 people in there.
Two
They should have just left y'all bottom.
It was
on the
it
table.
was crazy.
Oh, they were just saving money.
Yeah.
Y'all paid for that?
We already had to pay for the ticket.
How much was it?
65.
Yep.
Oh no!
Jesus
Wow.
Christ.
They would have had to run me 20
Oh, they
They
got
back.
probably paid like
Oh.
$300 for that room.
yeah.
Oh no, they got us.
Oh yeah.
We got. But
They got
I
y'all
never
for
had a
real.
bad. That was my first time I had that
That's
kind of
a
experience.
robbery, yo. You filed a police report?
The best, they robbed me with my hands up.
You could just claim it as fraud on your credit card.
Yeah.
Dang. I mean, the best part was the people I was sitting with was cool. The table of people I sat at, the lady that owned Melba's, the lady next to me on my left, her name was Melba. So it was them, and it was funny. It was one of our people we know. What's her name? Ibohim. Yeah. She her sister was there sitting next to me on my right, and I didn't even know that was her sister. So that was funny. They was real cool people. That's what happened. Sherelle was just like, "Are you such and such?" She was like, "No, you don't know my sister. You don't know my sister." She's like, "Is this your sister?" She's like, "Fuck." So it was fun for that because they was cool people. But the brunch was horrible. The calamari tastes like chewing gum.
Ew.
The chicken was rubbery. It was just bad. It was just bad.
They give y'all pig calamari.
No, it was really
Brunch
bad.
calamari. I don't know that I've ever had calamari for brunch.
You ever been
Oh,
to
I
Rusty
have.
Scupper?
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
a brunch
menu.
food.
Never
Maybe
been to
that's a
Rusty Scupper?
DC thing. No, I hear they have great brunches, but I have not been.
You're not a
should
brunch
go.
person?
I
I'm
would
very
love to
much a
go there
brunch
for brunch.
person.
I've never been.
So quiet as kept. We actually are trying to throw a brunch for our 4 year.
I'm with it.
I'm trying to do it.
She did inquire about our next event.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, our events. People like our events.
Yeah.
We take a lot of thought
Gotta
goes
ask
into
a
our
couple
events,
times
man.
about when the
It's
next
stressful.
one is. So
Events are stressful. That's why I don't like doing
They
it
are.
too often. So but let's get back to Sid's point. So Sid says, what you say?
I
Was
said
that
men
trash?
have selective amnesia.
I think
bullshit.
I think humans have selective amnesia.
Okay, sure, but I feel like y'all exhibit it more often.
What can I say?
I think women exhibit it
I don't
more.
recall.
Yeah. I will say this.
Especially in the argument.
Yeah, women know when to pull out stuff and when to forget stuff.
We are such pure souls that we don't even we don't try to we're not vengeful. We're not trying to be vengeful in our arguments.
I don't know about that.
That's bullshit about that either. Y'all call bullshit?
I think that's based on the person.
Oh, okay. I'm not trying to be vengeful.
I think overall, sometimes we're not trying to be vengeful. We just really might forget shit.
I forget a lot.
Yeah. But okay, so you're saying that it's
but it's not selective.
Okay.
I don't choose to forget it. It forgets me.
That's
I ain't choose this life.
So if I'm being a feminist part of this, even though it's two women here, I'll help
I'll
you
say
guys.
you don't have to be that part today.
No,
Let them talk. We got two of them.
He can't help it.
But what is said?
He was more feminine, right?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
He got a high feminine.
But what is?
We didn't introduce our guest either.
Are we gonna get to? I want to give her some space. I want to give her a runway. But what was said is men often leave women to do mental work.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And when I heard mental work,
Perfectly
I really didn't know what they was talking about.
Yeah.
So, but apparently that's the case. But no, we never complain about the physical work. That's just my take on that.
I'm not so sure about that.
But I never complained about the physical work. I never said
how in what ways do your physical work outweigh women's physical work?
Which ways does your mental work outweigh my physical work?
You didn't answer my question.
What do we? Come on.
Opening up as little as opening up a jar.
I'm about to say, do you get cramps in your brain?
Yeah.
That's not a headache. What you mean? That's literally
so
a headache.
Bringing the water in.
I might use you to open a pickle jar, but I'm mopping the floors. So it's.
You're not exerting as much energy mopping the floor.
Really?
You
scrubbing a wood floor.
You're scrubbing.
Or in them baseboards, I gotta be on my hands and knees.
With a Swiffer? Because nobody's on their hands and knees.
Some people do use actual mops.
Slavery's over. We can stop that.
Not those fresh nails, you know.
I think Bree would be a good person to ask this question right now because I've been MIA right now.
Right.
So she has to do all of that stuff.
Work.
So I would like to know if she feels like she's exerting more.
So
physical.
And the thing is, I'm not
taking trash out, yeah.
I literally can't right now.
I'm not complaining, and this is why I think. This is why I said we need to stop being so divisive, men and women. We need to realize that we are both important.
Mm-hmm.
Men are important and women.
Exactly.
For example, yesterday, right? The windshield wiper blades were messed up. We went to the store, AutoZone. My wife sat in the car. I went in and got the blades, put them on, did everything. She was sitting there on the phone the whole time. To me, that's fine. You deserved it. I'm not gonna mess with you. So when I don't, do something else, remember. I didn't ask you to get out the car.
No, selective amnesia.
Exactly. But why is that not weighted?
Or about to say it was just not weighted in their mind.
Yeah, I feel
you should do that. Why does that matter?
That's expected of you, yeah.
What was she supposed to do in that scenario, though? I don't understand. What was she supposed to do?
But I'm just saying, remember that. Like, remember the things you don't do because of my presence.
But there are things that we do that you don't have to worry about
We're
either.
good on that. Y'all the ones want to remind us of shit. We good. We know our worth. We know your worth. Y'all be like, y'all just say y'all worth is more sometimes. Yeah. That's our shit.
I think it goes back to,
not the snap.
I think physically our worth is pretty equal. Like we use them equally. I'll say that.
Physical?
In relationships, we use them equally. Not that we have equal strength or anything like that, but physically we all put in as much effort in our relationships. I think mentally.
We cool with that.
But I think mentally women typically do more.
See.
How can you measure it?
I mean, it's hard
I don't think that you can. I think that the conversation it goes in circles like that.
And because
you're not, it's not, you cannot measure it, and I don't think it's supposed to be measurable because you're supposed to be doing these things because one, you're either a upstanding citizen in general, or because you want to contribute and bring your best talents to a relationship. Full stop. So whatever that looks like, that's what you should want to bring. So it's not worth measuring anyhow.
But I think you get in the place of trying to measure it when you feel like you're doing more than the other. That's when it's like, this don't feel like it's equally yoked.
I think that's interesting.
And that would be a dilemma in a relationship that people should address.
Right.
I actually think even outside of a relationship or inside of a relationship, I think that's one thing men naturally don't do. We don't go and say we are doing more. And try to say.
Maybe we think
maybe y'all should.
Yeah, I think we martyrs.
I think that's what it is. We're martyrs. I just think
we just carried away the weight in our back and just drink our sorrows away some shit.
But it shouldn't be like
that's not
healthy.
That's also probably not do that.
No, that's not healthy. I'm just joking. It's a podcast.
Truth and jokes, sure.
There's a lot of truth and jokes. But
therapy is your friend.
Oh no, I believe in therapy. I'm so believe in therapy. I'm just trying to get everybody been in therapy. We just trying to get melanin.
I know.
He got the knee therapy, but that's it.
We got therapy for your mind.
You go to physical therapy way before mental therapy.
That's a nigga for you.
A physical tribute.
I know.
A physical fight.
But let's introduce our guest. We got Kendra from Outside the Norm podcast. Yes.
Hey guys.
What up?
Yeah, that's our sound effects. But you here. I'm a fan of y'all pod only because I really think y'all. I can't wait till y'all get video content because some of the blasphemous stuff that Norm and Unc say will go viral. It's crazy, and I like how they.
Oh, Kendra ain't innocent. She be
Kendra. She be with the shits too.
They all have their moments.
But there's a couple things I side with you. Is that podcast will make you on the seesaw because it's like it's 100% left or 100% right. It's really no middle in that pod.
No.
That's why I like it because it's like very extreme. And sometimes I'll be like, do they hear this shit?
That's how you want us to be though, right?
Nah.
No.
I thought you did.
I thought he did.
Our personalities don't lend to
says
bring
I
that
agree.
though because and it's funny because listening to the pod, Norm and Unc C, they tell about their life and how their upbringing and how they were brought up, and it's like okay, that makes sense. That's why that type of they're more alpha males.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if I could explain the podcast a little bit. So Outside the Norm is, the showrunner's Norm's brainchild, but it also the ethos of it is that we do have views that are not typically the standard. In addition to that, because of the people that we have on there, because of us as the speakers, we are coming from different generations. We have Unc C on there, who is the older gentleman of the group. We have, I don't know. I guess I stand as the voice for women, but I don't necessarily like that because I don't think that, men. Yeah, I'm not the monolith. I can't. I'm certainly not the standard. As many people like to tell me.
You have to be though.
Right. But I guess I can play.
I think you speak well for a woman. I think I'm very surprised on the podcast. Listen to Outside the Norm is you're a lot more traditional.
Yes.
But it's funny you say you're very traditional in listening to the podcast, but in conversation you're not as traditional. I
guess that makes sense.
And it's very. That's why I see why Norm says you're like. It drives him crazy because you are 100 left and 100 right, and it's like, what are you talking about? Like I don't know.
Yeah,
ethical non-monogamy does not go with a lot of your viewpoints on your podcast.
It doesn't, and it also does not align very well with my dating prospects either.
Prospects,
right? So it definitely gets to be a bit confusing. But my truth is my truth, and so I think that a podcast is a good way.
Why can't she say that?
Why can't I say that?
I got a whole
it's
thing.
Her truth,
that truth thing. We gotta get to absolute truth at some point. But go ahead, keep going.
We gotta get.
I don't
to
think
absolute
all
truth.
things have absolute truth.
John does apparently.
See, and that's my trigger because I don't believe in absolutism. Like I don't think that there is supposed to be a particular standard that humans are supposed outside of being good people. I don't think there's a particular standard that we're supposed to.
That's exactly
that is an absolute standard though.
Yeah.
That's probably my only standard.
Okay.
And then even like I think that is humanity should always strive for good. That should be the expectation, but I recognize that what people consider good has their varying degrees, and that's what we have to, I guess, like we have to decide amongst that as a culture, as a society, whatever you deem your culture to be. So if it is black people, if it is Americans, like we have to. That's what we're negotiating.
Are you spiritual?
I am spiritual.
Okay.
Not religious. I got to be very clear on that.
You are religious.
See John's eye roll.
Why am I religious?
Religious is not going to church. Religious is just doing something consistently. Everybody's religious. You're religious. You're just religious to certain things. You're religious to sex.
Okay,
you made that clear.
I am religious to sex. What I
That's your religion.
Is that
it's sex we trust.
John came with the.
I do not subscribe
John came loaded.
I don't subscribe to a specific doctrine.
That makes sense why you believe your truth.
So maybe that's what it is. I don't.
I get it.
Or whatever. Yeah. So I pick and choose the things that make sense to me.
To live your good life.
To live my good life.
Your definition of a good life.
Yeah.
Right.
So in many ways, I can be pretty dogmatic.
Yes,
but,
you can.
What does that mean exactly, guys?
Can somebody roll out the definition for Mel?
A textbook.
Yo, you the most decorated one in here. No, you and Maul, y'all got masters and masters, yo. That's your master's master.
I mean, I know every word.
Yeah.
I mean,
yo, the education box people put people in is crazy.
That's crazy.
it is.
That is wild.
People swear somebody got a degree. Yo, you know everything.
They definitely do.
Why don't you know your history?
Hey,
Yo, I'm not a history major.
Hey, John, what's even more wild that you agree with it, but then want to give him the definition?
Nope.
Because they don't know it.
So my definition of dogmatic is somebody saying something bombastic or just really deteriorating or just something bringing down the subject. But I want to make sure we're clear because my definitions are skewed. Y'all know that.
So
according to Merriam-Webster, it's characterized by or given to the expression of opinions very strongly or positively as if they were facts, which sounds accurate.
That sounds accurate, and that is the
that's where you and Norm
definition I
clash
subscribe
because
to.
both of y'all are very dogmatic.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
Norm
That
is-
makes sense for that podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not as dogmatic here.
Let me add that word to my vocab.
Oh, Lord.
Or vernacular.
You got to be able to use it in
Vernacular.
a sentence.
Yeah, let me, now I know it's a word. Then I work on the uses later.
All right.
Keep using this sentence.
So prior to the pod, Kendra, I don't know if you want to introduce your question.
Oh,
the question that started the genesis of why we wanted to get on.
Right.
We want to get more guests on, especially people that record here at the Baltimore Podcast Studio. But go. Do you want me to say the question, or do you want?
So I
answer
can.
to the group. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I wanted to talk about today was the value of friendship between men and women. I wanted to come and talk to you guys specifically. One, because you got two of y'all are married. So I think that you have reached the benchmark of understanding that caring for a woman is important, and I guess a man caring for a woman caring for a man is important. But I think underneath that really is the idea that the basis of any relationship is friendship. And a lot of the conversations in the podcast world, in music, in just media in general, has been from this adversarial perspective that men and women, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and it's just this idea that we're supposed to constantly be diametrically opposed, and we only come together for these mutual benefits, specifically. If you're talking about from a heteronormative perspective, we only come together because of sex.
Yeah, explain that word. You know what that is?
Heteronormative.
I'm just trying to help you.
What I learned was the axe when I don't know that.
Okay.
But I'm good on that.
My buzzwords are flowing. They flowing.
She has a good vocabulary.
My bad. All right. Heteronormative. So people, it's the idea that opposite sex relationships are the standard. So you are married. You both are men that are married to women.
We're cisgender, right?
Right. You're cisgendered men.
I learned that.
Which
But
means
that's about
that
your gender, not your sexuality.
right.
See, you fucking me up. Go ahead.
Oh.
I don't know that. I didn't get it.
Well, heteronormative was really just me talking about like the particular pairing of your relationships. Like you would be pairing with gender of the opposite sex.
Man,
So are you asking? So you're asking us in a nutshell, can men and women be friends?
Right.
I think that's the basis of all relationships.
Well, not can men or women be friends. I'm saying that men and women should be friends. I think that we constantly question whether they can be, and that is where we fuck up.
If I didn't like my wife or my fiance or my girlfriend at the time, I would have never got to this point.
Yeah,
correct.
Like, friendship had to be the basis of it because I think that's what dating leads to. Dating leads to friendship. I know it does lead to relationships as well. I mean, a romantic relationship, but you have to. The dating part is really the friendship part. It's like, can I go to the bowling alley and have a good time with you? Is it gonna be quiet? Are we just gonna be? Are we gonna like this the same thing? What are we gonna do the same? Do you drink? Do I drink? Do we not? Do you smoke? Do I? You know what I'm saying? All that stuff. So you have to be friends before you can even think about marriage. Or,
I think likability, like to Melvin's point, likability is way more important than love.
Yeah,
I would
say
agree.
more important. I would say
Way more important than love.
But I think that we're grooming people to think that the only reason why they would engage with the opposite sex is for the sexual component. Right. We're not recognizing the values and the benefits of the other gender. We're pushing, especially like in adolescence, we're pushing them to think that they only want certain thing, either party, and highlighting our differences as opposed to highlighting the things that we have in common.
I think sex should. A lot of people say sex is like the crux of relationships, and I think the total opposite. I think it's like it can be important, but that shouldn't be what you're focusing on if you're talking about marriage. If you're talking about marriage, you should, number one, like each other. Number one, are y'all compatible? I mean, number two, I'm sorry. That's number two. Mm-hmm. Number three, do you like the same stuff?
Yeah.
Like, can y'all just
coexist
in general? Like, that's what it comes down to. It's not sex necessarily. Sex can help some of that stuff, but that's not the end all be all.
I will say that I actually think it's interesting. Our generation, I think each generation, we got two competing narratives. Our generation,
you all right, yo?
It's just something.
It's all good.
It's all good.
Does it start with a C?
Our generation is less misogynistic than our parents' generation, and I think actually generation behind us is even less misogynistic. And when I say that is because the patriarchy is starting to fizzle out. And it's interesting because you're starting to create new conversations. I actually think younger people are less interested in sex.
Which is a whole other problem. But
I'm just saying, you got to understand where you're going to go. Yeah, I think young people are less interested in sex. My case in point is this. My little sister had a birthday party. She just turned 22. To me, it was the most boring 22-year-old party I ever seen.
That's probably because you
What made it boring?
Because they weren't trying. They were just chilling. Everybody was platonic.
They had their phones.
They was just nope. They had their phones. They were just chilling, watching. Guys were watching the basketball game. Girls are just talking in the circle. But they're not socializing the way we did. At 22, I'm trying to get kicked out of this hotel. We wild.
I wasn't trying to get kicked out. I'm saying that for the night.
But we doing something. We were trying. The idea of fun, chasing, that's gone. Like they don't do what we did.
Because they got social media, yo.
I don't
it is because of that. Because they have access to each other way easier than we had access to each other.
Way more accessible.
Like if I wanted to go see somebody back then,
it was a lot.
I had to call them on the phone and hope they were there.
It was a journey.
No, you got to call them, make sure the parents didn't answer the phone.
Or that too.
Right. But I don't think that they're less interested in sex. I think it's just less of an emergent thought because they have more access to get it whenever they want. They're more open about it. So it's not that they need to have it in this moment.
So,
but also,
listen.
No, I'm saying like all they was do like, hey, just send your location, drop a pin. Where we meeting up at?
Yep.
Right. So Uber. I think that they're thinking that the only reason to intermingle is if we're talking if it's sex related.
And that what liberation, equity, and equality look like?
Oh shit. No. Equity looks like.
I mean, this is what we push for.
Oh, so that's the rub. So I would recognize that patriarchy is a system that we do want to knock that down. Mm-hmm. We do want things to be more equal, more, I guess, democratic between men and women. Unfortunately, what we're also like throwing the baby out with the bathwater is we're not adding into it is that you can do the same things. Figure out what those same things look like and see what you have in common. It seems like most of the conversation is that men and women should be separate only.
That's crazy.
Until, we're talking about sex and relationships. Whereas men and women relationships, the non-romantic kind should always be consistently integrated. Because otherwise it's like, okay, well, I'm not even looking for you in terms of a peer group if I'm only thinking that you're only necessary when it comes to the sexual component.
So I don't want to sound patriarchal when I say this. Mm-hmm. You don't think that notion was pushed by women? More than men?
I don't know who that notion was pushed by.
Because I can tell you from a male perspective, I like being around women. I don't have to be about to have sex. Uh-huh. Women in the room just make the room better. Like, you don't even need a woman to be like, you don't got to check for them. They can be in their corner on their phone. But just a woman in a room, it's their presence alone makes a room better. Like, if even any guys, if it's a group of guys and a woman come in the room, it just makes the whole vibe changes. The whole vibe changes. And and usually it gets better. It doesn't get worse. And we cool with that. And that don't mean we got to go at her. Nobody trying to get a number. It's just that, like, all right, cool. It's a different vibe. Women bring vibes. We cool with that. Mm-hmm. I think women started to make it a little more transactional because they're trying to flip patriarchy into a different way. And I get it. I'm not mad at it. But I think it's weird that we're trying to push for. How do you say in one breath, protect black women, lead, and then the other way you're trying to tell people to do what I say, and then like you're blurring the lines.
I hear what you're saying. I think that we try to course correct too much. Patriarchy was too heavy-handed on how women could operate. We couldn't even function separate of men. And that was very much like a system that we needed to break out of. Like, it wasn't before the feminist era could we even buy or rent our own homes. Like, we really legitimately couldn't do that.
That's like the 70s.
Right,
yeah.
that's the 70s. So we couldn't open up our own bank accounts. None of that. We really had to have a man to say that, you know, to be able to get those things. And that was patriarchy that was too heavy-handed. And so we rightfully so had to push against that. But to your point, maybe we have gone too extreme.
I think I'm just saying as men, we have just taken it where it's like, okay, if this is what it is, let's operate. Men are great at operating the confines of what you get. So if it's like, all right, if that's what you want to say,
that's what I would say. It's so
let me
hard.
not.
It got to be so hard to date.
Oh my God, I'm glad I'm out the game.
It got to be hard to date.
It's very hard to date right
it's
now.
It's no parameters of it. It's kind of like whatever that woman feels patriarchy was too much.
Right.
That means that man has to figure that out and work with, like you said, like John said, work around it and adjust to it so he can make sure if he likes his woman, he has to adjust and make sure he likes it.
Do I like her enough to adjust to this?
Yeah.
And like, for example, it's very important. So, for example, as the generations go, I think the new complaint is going to be the lack of masculinity, quote unquote.
Right.
You know why?
I hear that.
They want more emotion from men.
At some point, men have started to say, all right, well, don't be dogmatic. Don't be patriarchal. Don't boss a woman around. Obviously, don't abuse women physically or mentally. So it's okay. So men become more docile in what women even would consider masculine, and it changes what a man looks like.
Right.
Women,
and as a man,
drive what masculinity is.
Right. As a man changes, it's like, no, but I still need you to do all of these traditional things.
Tell me what to do from time to time.
Yeah, I need you to do these traditional things and still be this. And I understand you can't be one way, but the same token is there's no clear message. And when there's no clear message, men aren't good at ambiguity. We suck at it.
No.
We need clear marching orders. And I hate to say it, and it's not good of us. Specifically black men, it's just like, tell us what to do. Tell us what you want.
You're right. That is a dilemma. I don't think that I have an answer for that. I think that's
Hey, I'm putting a lot on you.
Right. Well, no, it's a problem that I want to solve. That's important.
It's tough.
It's seriously a problem that I want to solve or establish a pathway. For one, I have both a son and a daughter, so I have my legacy at stake. I want them to have successful lives, and that includes successful partnerships. If they don't get their needs met from the general public, whatever it is that they're looking for in a mate, that they don't see it, that means that my legacy dies. I don't want that.
Yeah.
So it's very important to me to figure out a way, well, how can men and women get along? How can you establish this idea? And I hear what you're saying, that men don't exactly know what course to take. They have to take the lead of women.
And that's why that's why most men say, look, I'm gonna just live my life, get money, live the life I want, and when I want sex, I just call somebody and just keep pushing.
Yeah.
And it sounds bad, but the same token is I don't have time to deal with all of this gray area. And then soon as I make a breach, it's usually for some women, not all women, because there's not really much compromise, or there's not much, let's come together and figure this out. I think that's really the problem.
And then I also think that further, you don't have elder men who are not seen as misogynistic to pave the way to say, like, this is a good role model for you to identify with and to model how you move through life with. We don't have that.
I think our age range is the kind of in that middle between the toxic older male and the new less masculine man. Right. So we've been trying.
I wouldn't say less masculine. I would just say more.
I don't know where to do it.
We're just more
reformed. Okay,
because I would say because I'm not. I refuse, and I know this sounds crazy, to let women define masculinity. Because we're not allowed to define femininity.
Because we understand it.
Yeah, we understand each other. And sometimes that's where it's not divisive. It's just that masculinity is not for a woman to define.
I don't think, and you're right, we shouldn't. But I don't think that we because we don't hang out with each other enough.
Yeah.
That we don't understand. We don't understand you all, and you don't understand us. And then what gets highlighted is like all these tropes of what it is to be a man, and then all these tropes of what it is to be a woman. But if you actually, engage with the opposite sex from a friendship standard, not to say that you can't have sex, because as we discussed, I'm very much pro-sex, but at the basis of understanding person to person, and we're not seeing that enough. Like I guess it's just assumed that men only want sex from a woman, and then a woman only wants money from a man, and that's just not true.
Unfortunately, that's the narrative, but that's not true.
I was about to say,
it's not true at all.
And I think what happens is I was just having this conversation with Sherelle about, I can't say my wife, I can say Sherelle.
You've been doing pretty.
I'm trying to say her name more.
That was a good audible in between.
Say my name.
When nobody's around. Because social media has become more unrealistic as time goes on.
Oh yeah.
How often do you see a woman with a BBL?
Every day.
All the time.
That's most of the women you see on social media.
In real life.
Real life.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
In real life.
Well, strip club. You go to strip club.
But that's what I'm saying. But if
that's
you
it.
on
Certain bars.
social media, it will conform you to think that's what woman body look like.
Yeah.
So let's go. Go around the room. In real life, how many have you seen this week?
None.
I haven't seen none.
Not on social media. None.
I mean, no, in real life.
I didn't
you've
leave
been in the
my
house.
house.
Yeah.
But I know two people that have gotten BBLs. I know two personally.
I personally know.
That's not a lot.
I personally know one.
That's not a lot.
That is not a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
I know a lot of women.
So you got that aesthetic is not a real aesthetic.
Right.
Like a real woman has stretch marks. A real woman has cellulite. It's okay.
Some stretch marks.
Yeah, like, and this thing
You say
is,
you like them?
yeah,
Tiger strike?
she.
A lot of men like them, especially on the ass.
I know
Yes.
it makes
Character.
But
it
on the
warms my
stomach,
heart to
when they be
hear.
like,
What?
Cause no.
Real niggas like that
If
shit.
I mean, I got to be transparent. I had I have 2 children. The first one, she did me good. My stomach went unscathed. The second one, he did me dirty.
Was he the heavy baby?
He was slightly heavier. I actually blame it on my baby father because I didn't moisturize that much that pregnancy, because he would take the moisturizing agent and he would have it, and at the last few weeks of your pregnancy, I'm not doing a whole lot. I'm tired. I'm heavy. And so it was just out of reach, in another room, and so I just didn't moisturize as much. So I really blame him.
That's not even fit. It's not real. I'm just speaking for myself. I think Ma and Mel might agree. I know women. After a woman have a child, you're an asshole of a man to start critiquing their body, specifically if they had your child.
Yeah.
Who the hell do you think you are?
Sure.
You know how hard.
She was for you.
Yeah, it's your bloodline.
Definitely built a whole human. Well, I personally built 2, but yeah.
But I think a real man, and I think that's why maybe that's the narrative that's not out there. A real man respects a woman, and all of what comes with them. Women are dynamic. You're not gonna just get a BBL. I ain't gonna lie to you. We were just talking about it. Some of it's too much ass.
Yeah, they be looking like ants.
It's your
shit.
calves cannot support your ass.
Y'all seen Madonna?
Yeah.
Nah.
I did. Yeah.
Madonna
She
is
need to take it
ridiculous.
She had a BBL and it was
undo, please
for
undo.
real?
It don't.
Take that
But a
shot.
lot of women are doing that, and
Yeah.
they get it, and they're like, "What
But
the
she
fuck
didn't
is
even
that?
get
It's not even an ass no more."
money to make it look like
Yeah.
it matched.
It's
She
fucking
ain't do it.
airbags from airbags on her back.
I want to let's progress the conversation and move it forward a little bit. A lot of what you talk about, I have written down on my notes is black absentee dads.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the generations that are getting of power, the 30s and 40s, that's the generation that become coming into power. Actually, they have lived with no dads, and a lot of what you talk about comes from a lack of masculine presence in the house.
Correct.
Think about everybody in here can think about their friend circle. How many of them actually grew up with their dad in the home?
I come from a 2-parent
Me too.
household. Me coming from a 2-parent household and my parents are slightly older was definitely not the norm.
It's not.
It was not the norm. You got a dad? Your dad?
Yeah.
You
My
got
dad
your dad
used
last name?
My dad
Your
used to
parents
come
got
up
the
to
same
You
name?
look, you weird.
My dad came to the school when we were younger,
Uh-huh.
and they was like, "Yo, he live with you?" And I'm just like,
Not
"Yeah."
do he live with you?
I was like,
Somebody
yeah.
asked you that for real?
No real shit. Like it was, but it wasn't joking.
It was one of them white people.
Right.
But it was no, it was a black kid.
Oh wow.
It was like, yo, he live with you? He got the same last name too? Like, yo, what the hell? But it's just it's so normal not to live with your dad.
It definitely is. Yeah, and a lot of the guys that I've dated, they have not had, they didn't have a father, period. Or
they had a father.
I mean, well, yes.
Oh,
but they did not have an active father in their life. Their parents weren't married.
And to your point, that impacts a lot of what you said.
It absolutely does. And it also, so even me personally, I am co-parenting with my my children's father. So we're no longer together, even though we were together for a very long time. But I mourn the fact that my children don't see that in a household. I do think that changes their trajectory. So it sucks, and I don't think that people say, okay, well, you need to get like better mentors. You can, I guess, soften the blow by getting additional mentors, which I suppose that's true.
Okay.
But what is definitely missing is children seeing what a true relationship and a partnership looks like.
So in your dating life, have you've dated both kinds of men, right?
Yeah, I date black men. There's a lot of black men with my father.
Yeah, I'm saying you dated a black man that has grown up with his dad and the black man without his dad, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell the difference when you're in a relationship with him?
I think so. Yeah, my children's father did not grow up with a father. I think that
specific traits. I guess that's what I'm trying to like.
Yeah, I think that his the people who don't grow up without a father, they perform masculinity. They don't actually believe.
Would you say that they're more explosive?
I think that I wouldn't say that they're more explosive. I think that they don't feel sure of themselves. I think that's probably the best way to say, they're definitely insecure. They don't have that stability of, I know how if they have not been raised by their father, what often happens is that, okay, well, I didn't have that, so I'm going to try my best to, to be what it was that I thought that it was supposed to be. Right. Yeah. And that might not also be based in reality. And then it's always a constant, like they're chasing a ghost. They're trying to figure out exactly what it is that they're supposed to do, but not actually having somebody in their life that models that.
I think the one thing that a father in the household teaches a man, specifically a young black man, is how to control your emotions. Because that was one thing my dad consistently did, now that I think of it. Mm-hmm. He always taught us to control your emotions.
Okay.
And when I say control,
always true though.
Well, yeah, I guess. And the reason why I say that is because when you're living in a house with another man and you start to wild out, that man's going to check you.
If he knows how to control his.
Right. But
all fathers don't know how to control their emotions.
Okay,
so
that's true.
They can't teach it if they don't know how to do it.
So then there's and then there's additional generation in that. Like I come from a 2-parent household. My dad comes from a 2-parent household.
Right.
So he had that model. He had that model of a father. His father passed away when he was like in his 20s. So I never met my grandfather. But he had that as a role model.
Same here.
So I think that impact, and I would say to my dad, I love my dad. My dad is a relatively even-keeled individual. While my mother was considered, I guess, is an incredibly strong woman. Very much, I don't know. Maybe people would say that she it resides more in her masculinity and femininity. I don't think that. I think that she just has like a very incredibly strong presence. One that I'm sure that I have that from her. But I don't think my father was intimidated by that. Mm-hmm. I think that my father loved that about that. And my mother also comes from a 2-parent household. Yeah. So I think that's also important to that. They both had role models to, suggest exactly how it is, how they should parent and how they should exist in a relationship. Right. And they were able to pass that down. But it gets dysfunctional for me personally is I go about society and I don't see what I had reflected.
Right. Because it wasn't. You were one of the anomalies.
Right. Always. Yes. This is the name of this man, it's my life.
I experienced it too. My parents on both sides, they had 2-parent households for generations. Like they don't know nothing different. Like I didn't know anything different. I never knew ain't shit nigga. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how to be one.
Right.
So it's just one of those things, and that's not pride. It's just that like it changes everything. It changes how you approach a woman, how you appreciate a woman.
I think I've had me growing up. I kind of had it both. I always had a strong male presence, but it wasn't my dad because unfortunately my dad passed away, right? So, but I always had like his dad, my other uncles. I had church. I had male figures to look up to teach me. So that's why you said that mentor thing. I think that is a huge part of it. If you don't have that male, he has to have some kind of male presence in his life so he can see it. Even if he's not every day, it's not every week. He has to be able, even if it's just to call that guy and you hear his so he can tell him how he's thinking or what he's feeling or whatever. Just so he can't tell his mom all the time because his mom gonna think like a woman sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes you need to call a man and it's like a man like, hey son, just chill out. You good? Just keep matriculating, keep doing that. You
chill out.
Or chill out. Yeah. Sometimes it's just that's what they need. So you gotta get that.
And different dynamics of men. And I think one thing.
Yeah, good point.
Black men, it's a lot of different types of black men. And that's why it's interesting on this podcast. Me, Mel, and Mo are very different, but very alike. But because the way we approach and think are very different. Because I think as a black boy growing up, you come up thinking there is one type of black man.
Right.
It's important to see a dynamics. Like, for example, it's important to see a man that went to college. It's important to see a man that did a trade. It's important to see a man that just got it out the mud and did, maybe he was a drug dealer. But it's important to see the different type of men and how they think.
Right.
Because we're not a monolith.
We're not a monolith.
And I would argue even children in two-parent households need that as well. So, for example, both of my parents came from broken homes. So them getting married relatively young, my mom was 24. They had to figure it out. They didn't know what they was doing. Right. And my mother still admits to this day, looking back, she wishes she did not get married that young. Because they literally didn't know what they was doing. So, and like, she did not feel like her parents were, her father passed when she was 2 and did not feel like her mother was present. So she didn't know how to be a mother. So it's like, but you assume because it's a two-parent household, like, oh, they got it all figured out. I was like,
hell no.
Not necessarily.
So I think that's even an additional dynamic when we talk about like getting married young or, like being in serious relationships young. I think we also have to recognize the fact that technology, like the way that we live our lives is also changing. We're also living longer. We also have, now understand that before 25, people's brains not even fully formed. So what does it really look like? The expectation of a relationship or like a good dynamic in your 20s and for that to extend throughout your lifetime, I think is also not necessarily a reality.
I'm
like
50-50
it gets to be
on
difficult.
That. I actually think that the skill that's not taught enough is compromise and conflict resolution. Because the reason why most relationships break up, lack of conflict resolution. Because it's not really even through cheating, some of what people consider the most egregious thing.
Right.
It's usually bad conflict resolution. Like that's what we don't have. That's why you're jumping from relationship to relationship. A lot of times you're not really as willing to go through the trenches with somebody emotionally. What happened is it's going to get ugly. You're going to hate that person at times. You're going to like want to, it's a part of it. But nobody wants to talk about relationships are hard. Yeah. Hard as hell, and when it gets hard, it's not time to go get another one. That's not an indicator to go to another relationship.
That is not
right now. That's an indicator. All of a sudden, it's like you're not speaking to my truth. No, your truth and my truth have to figure out a way to align.
Unless it's like domestic violence.
Unless it's domestic violence.
Unless it's domestic violence.
Or any kind of.
I think the space to work through shit in a relationship is so wide. But nowadays, to your point, it's not wide. People don't want to put up with nothing.
They don't.
They wanted to be
the
smooth
first
all
sign
the
of
time.
something, they be like, "Oh, I'm out."
Yeah.
I think it's part of them saying like, "Oh no, I don't have to put up with that."
Right, and that's
and
selfish.
you don't. But then don't complain when you 50 and single.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do you put up with? And that's a great question. I'm gonna stop talking.
What do you put up with? I think that's individual.
But what do you put up with?
I think, like she said, it depends on the person. Because for different people, I'm willing to put up with different things because they have different benefits. So, like, depending on your benefits, I might be willing to put up with a certain.
It's like a job. It's like a job.
Right.
So, what's the benefits that outweigh the bad for you?
For me personally,
yes.
So
I was gonna bring up what we talked about earlier, but I want to know if that's the benefit that keeps.
I was about to say sex.
That might switch.
Sex is the PTO. It's always PTO.
I mean, if you're not fucking me, it's probably going to have more of a impact on our relationship than you fucking someone else. So cheating is not really a big
deal. Let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
For you to feel that way, you understand how you're a paradox?
Oh, absolutely. But I'm a paradox in many ways. But yes, I recognize.
I'm just saying, like, the fact that you saying sex is what can be the keeping force. And then you talk about these things about family, black family structure and stuff. It's like, huh?
Well, that's just one thing. That's just.
It's okay to be dynamic. I just didn't know if you knew you were so dynamic.
No. That is just one thing. So I can tell you that the actual demise, it wasn't the only thing, but the final straw in my previous relationship, the undoing of it, was that he did not have the capacity to even care about future planning. So I wanted to purchase a home for our family. He did not want to purchase a home. He didn't have the bandwidth, the understanding, the knowledge base, with the interest to purchase a home, and he could not express the reasons why.
Do you think it could have just been a lack of desire to continue to be a family in that way? To like take the next step?
That was the reason why. Okay, yeah. I do think that was the reason why. I think subconsciously that was the reason why. Yeah. But for me, that was the nail in the coffin, because you and I don't have similar views on the future. And so if we're not aligned on our future ideals, like on the things that like our values are no longer aligned. So that was the demise of the relationship. Compatibility or a conflict resolution, like you said, I think that I'm good. I think that I'm great at conflict resolution.
What do you think he think?
What do I think he thought? I'm not sure.
Do you think if the house thing would have never been an issue, he would have stayed? He wouldn't have ever went anywhere. He was comfortable with how the situation was.
Right. So, but that again goes to value system. Right. He could rest in comfort, and I was much more progressive in having a vision for what I wanted our lifestyle.
Did he just not know no better?
Or he might not want better. Like
he did not.
I think a lot of times people just don't know no better.
You could say that, but when a person presents you with information for you to know,
you're
so resistant towards this.
It's like they gave you a pamphlet,
right?
And you didn't want to read the shit.
Don't do drugs.
Right. You're so resistant. It's like.
So you were saying you were measuring his effort. Because you gave him the information. It's like, all right, now that you don't, I know you don't know. I presented it. Now what can we do now that you do know?
Right.
And he still didn't.
And he still was not willing to, negotiate a path forward.
Is he that way in other areas of his life?
Yes. Okay. In all of the ways in his life.
Complacent?
Yes.
That's just how he shows up.
Where does he live?
Or as a person?
With his mama now.
Makes sense.
I got a house.
But it makes sense, though.
Like, he lived with his mama.
But that makes sense, though.
I got the house.
But you know what? And I know I'm not shooting him no bail. I don't know this man from a can of paint.
Right.
A lot of black men don't anticipate living past a certain age.
I think that's also true too. But I also think that I also believe that this was a situation where he did not have a father. He did not have a father. He did not have a father figure, and so it was like any idea of what future expectations. He did not have that earmarked for himself. And and then there's a level of like personal accountability, all these different things that he just did not have the bandwidth for.
How do you argue?
How do I argue?
Yeah.
She probably fucking them up.
Yo!
Fucking them up.
I feel
what facts and
big words like
the first thing
and anonymously.
The first thing I thought about was the 40-year-old virgin. It's like, you throwing big words at me. I don't understand what they mean.
Yeah. You messing with me.
That happens a lot.
Because the way how cerebral you are, man, I know you're probably getting some
fucking them up.
You know what? A lot of things that he used to say to me, which this should not be a situation about my ex, though. Let me be clear. Like we were together from the time that I was 19 to 32.
Yeah, you still you never lose love for that person. Now. Yeah, you still love that person.
That's your relationship of reference.
Right. Yeah, that's my relationship.
Forever in your life, it will be.
That's the baseline. You're going to go up or down.
That was my baseline. But he would say quite often, because I was on the debate team in high school.
Oh, yeah, all right.
That makes a lot of sense.
All right, makes sense.
So he
debate team.
You the captain of the dictionary.
Were you the captain?
I wasn't a captain.
She was second in command.
At some point. Yeah, I was second in command.
Okay.
So he liked to bring that up, like, oh, you like to debate. Like, no, nigga, I'm just
I
right.
will
And
say-
I'm gonna prove my point.
So
like,
let me-
But I would say in arguments with a partner, it matters more to be effective with your words than it does to be right.
Absolutely.
And not even saying like
Here's
that
another
so
one.
they can understand me.
Right.
So sometimes the big words may not be as useful
Right.
for your audience.
It wouldn't work
So
for me
that-
either.
Because
To me-
even if we come to the conclusion that I am right, or if we come to the conclusion that I am wrong, I want you to at minimum be able to understand my point.
I'm gonna give you some. I'm gonna give you some honest feedback. That was our last
Okay,
episode.
that's fine. I know my
Um,
communication is trash.
It's not trash. It's not trash because I don't think your communication can't be trash unless you're
It's
not
a different level. Of
not
communication.
attempting to communicate.
Right.
You're attempting to communicate. It's not
All the
trash.
time.
It needs to be tailored. And it doesn't sound like he said much to you to say, look, this isn't working for me. Do this, do this, do this.
Right.
What I will say is I could see where he might have got frustrated because you dominated the conversation. And because you dominated the conversation,